Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Scott and I watched 8 movies over the last week. Let's talk about them. First I watched Zombieland Double Tap, which is the sequel to Zombieland, which came out way back in 2009. The sequel came out 10 years after the original film. And in that decade, it seems like they forgot what made the first film endearing. Seems like director Ruben Fleischer and writer Rhett Reese just didn't remember why the first movie worked at all. So we're presented with characters we seem to know but are shells of their former selves. But mostly they just forgot to write jokes. Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, and Emma Stone are trying their best. But this is just a dead zone of comedy. There's nothing here. They're not trying to break out on their own and build their own thing here. This is reference humor for reference humor's sake. I just stared at it, then it was over. It's bad. Then Friday morning, I watched another sequel, Jumanji: The Next Level, which is a sequel to Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, which starred Kevin Hart, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Karen Gillan, and Jack Black. And I really enjoyed the original movie. It seemed like a fresh take on the property, a fun deconstruction of action game tropes. And this film, for better or worse, is just more of the same. In this film, more than the other one, it seems like they've put these actors in positions where they can make fun of each other as well as themselves. So that's refreshing and still a lot of fun, if not shocking or wholly original. They can keep making these movies. These movies are like candy for me. I will keep watching them as long as they keep handing them to me because I enjoy these actors and the chemistry they have together. Then on Saturday morning, I watched Dark Waters, which stars Mark Ruffalo as a lawyer who, after given a tip, uncovers the fact that Teflon, a new coating developed by DuPont, is making people sick. People that work on the Teflon line are getting sick. Women who are pregnant that worked on the line are having children that have birth defects. And Mark Ruffalo's character is uncovering the levels of corruption that led to this product being released to the public. The Teflon scandal is not that old, and I have trouble with newer scandals being made into a movie. It's hard for me to rave about something that was this big and this public. We'll run into this later on in this very episode. But I like movies about scandals that you might not have heard all the details of, but this was so public that I just thought, yeah, that's what happened. This was a scandal that played out in the public view, so there's not really a ton of surprises here, which leads me to want more character work from the actors as far as the script is concerned. The characters need to be more fleshed out. And I don't think I got that here. I wanted Mark Ruffalo's character to be a little bit more three-dimensional. There are some elements of his family life that come into play throughout the film's running time, but not enough for me to really sink my hooks into with this film. It is a good documentation of a scandal. I just wish that it was a little bit more character-driven than it is. Mark Ruffalo is pretty good in it, though. La La Land is a multiple Academy Award nominee film. It won 6, I believe. I told you I was super far behind on getting to these Academy films. I have owned La La Land for a while. I just never got the urge to throw it into the Blu-ray player. I liked it. I wish I liked it more. There's some weird quirks to the film that kept me from fully embracing it, and most of it are production problems. The sound mix on some of the songs is a little muddy. It's not very clear, so it's hard to grab onto those lyrics as emotional notes. There's several shots of Emma Stone that are just straight up out of focus for weird reasons, like her climactic song, half of her face is out of focus. And I don't know if it's a situation where they got the performance, the camera shot's not perfect, but we'll put it in the movie because the performance was so good. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was, but this thing won a or was nominated for a cinematography Oscar, as well as nominated for both sound categories, so what do I know? But for the most part, this movie's cinematography is dazzling. It's a throwback to old school Hollywood musicals. A lot of stuff done in long camera shots. Obviously with some digital effects, but the human performance is there because they're not cutting away to feet or whatever throughout the dance sequences. It's usually done in one big long shot, which I appreciated. But this movie gets by a lot on the chemistry of its two stars, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Their characters aren't super dynamic, but their chemistry and their performances are very dynamic, and that carries the movie for the most part. But I really did enjoy the film, even if I'm not at a point where I am raving about it. So we've already seen Emma Stone twice. What else we got? Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is an underseen film from 2010 directed by Edgar Wright, the guy who directed Shaun of the Dead and later Baby Driver. And this movie is a master course in film editing. And it smacks you in the face with its pace and how fast this movie is going to be cut together from minute one. This is one of the fastest movies I've ever seen. As far as how fast the cuts work together and how seamless each scene transitions into each other. There are sequences in this film where several places and several conversations happen in a series of cuts. It has this madcap energy to it, which I really appreciate. And along with speed of dialogue, how fast the jokes come at you, this movie just flies by. It's almost 2 hours long, but it feels much, much shorter because it has this breakneck pace, and it's editing, it's acting, it's everything working together to make this happen. It is a criminally underseen film, in my opinion. And you can't say this about a lot of movies, but you're never gonna see anything like this. This is a wholly original film that's hard to compare to anything. I really respect what Edgar Wright and company did here. Now back to movies I've never seen. Vertical Limit is a 2000 action-adventure film starring Chris O'Donnell, the late Bill Paxton, and Robin Tunney. Little backstory, this is a DVD my late grandmother got me for Christmas one year. It's one of those kind of old lady, you like movies? Here's an action movie type of thing. I'd never heard of it before. But it sat on the shelf for a very embarrassingly long time without me watching it. So finally got around to it this weekend, and it was fine. The film was kind of made in this awkward transition area where digital effects weren't quite there yet, but they were on the scene. But this movie doesn't use a lot of digital effects. It's a lot of matte paintings. It's a lot of forced perspective, which for in-camera effects are pretty good. There's some stock footage, which is very obvious. But from a composition standpoint, the film does as much as it possibly can in camera, which I appreciated. But for an action-adventure film about a bunch of rock climbers climbing to the summit of K2, I wish the film would stay as much man versus nature as it did through the first two acts. In the third act, it introduces an actual human villain, which is not well fleshed out and kind of silly, as well as a chemical element that becomes a ticking time bomb in a way, which is very silly. And because of those two elements, the film gets kind of cartoonish in its third act. But as far as assembly goes, it was fine. Acting was fine. It's fine. Directed by Martin Campbell, who would go on to direct Casino Royale. So the man knows how to do action movies. That was Sunday morning. Then Sunday afternoon, I watched The Big Short, a 2015 Academy Award nominated film starring Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling, second time we've seen him, and Steve Carell. Also, a bit performance from Karen Gillan, the second time we saw her this week. For some reason, my movie collection, my to-do list has these connections. Again, just with Dark Waters, I have a hard time with these super new films based on super new news stories. This one being about the financial crisis and the men who uncovered the subprime mortgage bundles that led to it. I thought it was well acted. I thought Ryan Gosling was great. I've never seen him play this type of character that's very type A, Wolf of Wall Street type of character. The performances are fine. The writing was good. It was assembled well. It never slowed down. It didn't really have any lulls or valleys. It was all good stuff, but again, I just have a hard time raving about movies which the subject matter has taken place in relative recent memory. I had a problem with Adam McKay's other movie in the same way, Vice. Just too new as far as portraying recent events. Maybe it'll play better in 10 years. I don't know. I'll watch it again in 10 years and we'll find out. Last but in no way least is Uncut Gems, a 2019 film directed by the Safdie brothers, which stars Adam Sandler as a jewelry shop owner in New York City who sees the light at the end of his financial trouble tunnel in the acquisition of an uncut rock of opal, which he believes is going to sell for enough money that he can dig himself out of the financial trouble he is in, mostly with bookies. When this movie hit Netflix, I remember seeing a lot of people say it's the worst movie they've ever seen, which is a bit hyperbolic, but a lot of people were turned off by it. And I get it. This movie is designed to make you feel emotions throughout its running time, which aren't normal movie emotions. And what I mean by that is, most people when they watch films, they want to feel joy, they want to feel sadness, they want to feel happy or feel entertained. What they don't want is to feel anxious. And this movie, from frame one, is absolutely 100% designed to make you feel anxious. Some of the things they do are subtle. Some of the things are pretty blatant. The more subtle side of things come through the soundtrack. The soundtrack for this movie, if you listen to it on a good 5.1 system, or 7.2 or 56.3 or whatever you have at your house, if you listen to it on a good separated sound system, the soundtrack is designed in a way that makes you feel like something is wrong. Sometimes sound comes from the wrong speaker, sometimes sound comes from all the speakers. And pair that with visuals that are claustrophobic and chaotic, and you have a recipe for an anxious watching experience. And that's off-putting to some. And I completely understand that if this movie's not your cup of tea, but this is what the Safdie brothers do very well, and they did it very well in Good Time. But this movie takes it up a notch. But something weird happened to me on the way to the end of this film. As I got adjusted to what the filmmakers wanted me to feel, I wanted things to work out for Adam Sandler's character. And by no means did I feel like he deserved things to work out, but I kept hoping among hope that things would work out in his favor. And this is an emotion that the filmmakers used to their advantage because Adam Sandler's character is a shark and he's only gonna let you down. I don't think you're supposed to like him, but I ended up liking him, even with his flaws. But because of the skill of the filmmakers and the absolute excellent cast work, this movie is a very rewarding film experience. I enjoyed this film a lot, even when it made me feel anxious, and it did that a lot. Adam Sandler's best dramatic role and best dramatic acting work and it's not even a close competition. And just an excellent film overall. I loved it. And that brings us to the end of this episode. If you're gonna watch one movie from this bunch, because I know that Uncut Gems, while I feel it's the best movie I watched this week, isn't for everyone, probably watch Scott Pilgrim. That is probably the best movie, the second best movie I watched this week. Just avoid Zombieland double tap at all costs. It's the worst movie of the bunch I watched this week. And that is it for this week. What have you guys been watching? Anything interesting? I'll see you down in the comments. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.